Welcome in to the DNVR Broncos podcast, coming to you live from Studio M. Once again, the M today stands for Malik.
Oh, I thought we were going to say Mobile.
Well, yes, it does stand for Mobile. That's how it got the name Studio M in the first place.
Oh, I
today,
see. I'm picking
Marine
it up
layer.
now, 24 hours later.
Today it stands for Malik. Malik Willis, the absolute star of the show. It also stands for MSU Denver Online. MSU Denver Online. The presenting sponsor of this show, and of course, the best place to go if you're working a full-time job and looking to further that education so then you can later get a better full-time job. Check them out, msudenver.edu/online today. All right, boys. There's no need to hesitate. Actually, yes, there is. We had some amazing barbecue after practice today. That's why we're a little bit late, because yesterday we made the fatal flaw that we've made every single time we've ever come to Mobile, which is we go to practice ends, we're like, oh, let's just get a little bit of work done, and then we'll go eat dinner.
Let's get a lot of bit of work done.
We always end up getting a lot of bit of work done, and then realizing, oh, right, this isn't like a big city where restaurants are open until the wee hours of the morning. No, everything closes pretty much at 9 o'clock, and so then we miss out on all the good food that everyone always talks about down here.
That's right.
So today we're like, we're not letting that happen. So we went to Dreamland Barbecue, and we feasted, and it was amazing. Then we got back, and now we're here with you guys to talk a little Senior Bowl action. And more than anything else today, it was rainy.
Oh, boy, it was a rainy, but that did not stop the Senior Bowl from playing outside. So we stood in the rain for, 5 hours?
Yes.
To watch 4 hours of football?
Well, we didn't exactly stand in the rain. We got to the stadium, and we looked like where everyone else was standing. You could barely see the field from where everyone was everyone was. So I was like, we can do better than this. So we walked over, and we found like this little corner area where you could essentially stand underneath the bleachers but still look out and see. I thought we originally found the best seat in the house. Then, about at the beginning of the second practice, we realized, there's no one really manning that area over there from a security standpoint that's supposed to stop us from going underneath that tent, which is reserved for NFL personnel. Mm-hmm. So we just went there and watched the whole practice from there. And that was very, very, very nice because we were completely protected by that tent. And we probably had the best view of the house of any media.
Yeah, you'd think, though, then when they went to the opposite side, I had to leave you guys get drenched a little, miss some great quarterback play. But I've got trench reports for everyone.
Yeah, we got trench reports.
Trench reports as they were getting trenched. Yes.
Trench
reports in the trenches.
Yep.
But as we were over
With
there,
trenches.
I guess that would probably be the south end zone if I were guessing. I don't know
total
directions
guess.
without
guess.
Without,
Well, where's the mountain?
There's no mountain.
No, the mountain.
Oh, Daniel
to guide us. Yeah. I didn't hear any Falele talk today from Dre.
Yeah,
Falele's stock.
He's large. That's what he's got going for him.
Falele's stock is flailin'.
Wow. Okay.
So are we going? Do you want to just jump right into the rankings?
Yeah, I think we have to. The quarterback rankings, right?
All right, let's go reverse order then, and work our way up to number 1. So we start at number 6. So do you have a question for the class?
I don't have a question. We start at number 6. Consensus number 6?
I think it is a consensus number 6. Zach, did Mace have the same number 6 as us?
We have a top 3 from Mace.
Oh, okay. We'll get to then. Number 6, I think, is Desmond Ridder, and that's what's. Yeah. It's kind of unfortunate for him because I feel like he actually did make like 2 or 3 eye-popping plays, but you can't. 2 or 3 eye-popping plays cannot get you through a practice when just about everything else is slop. A lot of easy misses, a lot of inaccurate throws in short areas, a lot of holding on to the ball, which we talked about yesterday. Mm-hmm. And yesterday we had Desmond Ridder as number 5. Bailey Zappi today, as I said, it was Zappy hour out there. He got it rolling a little bit. He started making some throws. He started making me understand, because yesterday I did not understand how he was able to put up those insane stats. Today I started to say, okay, yeah, I can see why he's able to deliver the ball on time. He's able to make anticipatory throws, put the ball in nice spots. And so to me, in terms of just consistent play, he was a lot more consistent than Ritter today. You put Ritter at 6, Zappe at 5.
Yeah, Zappe's arm was lit today, whereas yesterday it did not look good. And that was even more impressive because this guy looks like he's my size on the field. And we were throwing in rain today. So the fact that he was able to have some zip on it was impressive. I didn't think
zap.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't think Ritter's day was bad. Like yesterday I was really disappointed in him and Zappe.
Yeah.
But today I actually just thought that Zappe was better. So I thought the floor for this group today was pretty darn high.
Yeah,
I think that's
as we
a great
put
point.
in the highlight of him getting nearly picked there.
No interceptions yet this entire time.
There has been.
There has not been many from
No.
all
No,
6 quarterbacks.
Not many. And I remind you, these are merely our Senior Bowl rankings. There'll be all a draft season to do actual rankings and go back to the tape and everything. We are merely talking about these 2 days. And I agree with the guys. Zappe ahead of Ritter. Ritter improved, but there are a lot of concerns with what we're seeing in practice, just with his decisiveness and getting the ball out and on time regularly.
I'd put him in the Kellen Mond world, right?
That's exactly what I was going to say. And
If you're looking for a guy, you just want to roll the dice and say, hey, let's take a guy because you should always take a quarterback, in my opinion. There you go. Take Desmond Ritter and just pray to the high heavens that with a great quarterbacks coach, it all comes together for him.
what does Mike Zimmer think of Kellen Mond?
What did he say?
He says, Coach, do you need to see Kellen Mond this week?
Nope.
Well, why is that?
See him every day in practice.
And
That's the quote of the year.
Now, Kellen Mond isn't necessarily the exact same person as Desmond Ritter. Desmond Ritter could turn out to be very different. But what was Kellen Mond? He was a third-round pick or a fourth-round pick or something like that?
I think a third round.
I think he was a
sounds right.
third-round
I'll look it
pick.
up for
I
you,
think
though.
he's later than that.
I think Desmond Ritter is going to be somewhere right around there. And to me, I'm done with those. I'm done with day 2 picks. If you want to get a day 3 guy, that's truly just a gamble. And if he turns out, but he's not your plan. A day 2 guy though, you're kind of hoping he turns into the guy. So you put bigger plans on the back burner because you're like, we got this guy. No, Broncos can't do that.
I'm with you on that. Where was Mon taken?
Top of round 3.
Okay, top of round 3. All right, yeah, good call.
Got it.
Good call, boys. Yeah, that feels like the spot for Ritter, and it's stuff that I've seen so many times. Right, you got the big arm, you've got the size, you've got athleticism. Putting it all together and making it look like quarterback play is a whole different world.
And
All
does
right.
he have the big arm?
Well,
It flashes at times, but
it's certainly not as live as some of these guys we're about to talk about.
right.
Here is, in my opinion, at number 4, the upset of the Senior Bowl.
Not in a good way.
And not in a good way. Kenny Pickett, we all agree, is the 4th best quarterback through 2 days at the Senior Bowl, and I don't think a lot of people would have expected that. This is a guy who, I don't even know if it's arguable, the guy who had the best season out of any of these people. I guess you could make the argument that maybe Zappe had the better season, but different level of competition.
Fair enough.
This is a guy who lit up the college football season this year. It was awesome, made tons of great plays, and maybe there's a gamer thing going for him, which is a tough thing to gamble on as a coach because he clearly, played really well in the ACC this year.
Yeah.
But he just doesn't look to be the same caliber as the top 3 guys right now. And clearly the conditions today, I think, affected him as much, if not more, than anyone else. He did not look crisp. It looked like he was aiming the ball every time he had it to me. He was accurate on the short stuff, but it just looked like he was throwing change-ups because he didn't want to rip it with the way the ball was.
I was just expecting to see this guy that was super athletic, that was going to blow me away with his athleticism, take off, manipulate the pocket, move well in the pocket, and then also have this really live arm. Isn't that kind of what we heard about him this season, the season he had? And then also, especially this past month, he had really been heating up, but we haven't seen that. We've seen a light version of what an extra light version of what he's supposed to be.
Buwana wants to know, is he outside of Mesa's top 3 as well?
He is outside of Mace's top 3.
So that's
that's
consensus outside of the top 3, and I would assume he's probably Mace's number 4 if we were to ask.
Again, based on what we're seeing today. Now, I will say, I thought Pickett, who this was probably the biggest day considering the hand size concerns and how that relates to your ability to play in weather. I thought he did a good enough. He had a good enough day. He didn't raise major concerns to me of like, oh, this guy can't, fit the ball through the weather. He was accurate on the short stuff, a little shy about trying deeper stuff. He got it on the money, a lot of drops, which you noted.
He did have a lot of drops.
And I think now again on passes, throws that we felt were on the money and should have been caught. You do wonder, he doesn't have the tightest spiral, very Peyton Manning-y, kind of tails off, Is that harder to catch in the elements? Is that part of the small hand size?
He's the next Peyton Manning?
I wasn't watching when we played some of the Pickett B-roll that we had. So I just want to see if there's an example of what I'm talking about here where I didn't feel like he was actually throwing the ball. I felt like he was tossing it. Here we go. Let's see if you can see it on this. All right, let's look at Kenny.
Yeah,
here.
He looks tiny back there.
There it is. You can see it so clearly there that he is not ripping the ball. He's afraid to kind of let it rip. He's pushing the ball out there into space.
Well, and that's a 15-yard throw right there, and the way it's coming out of his hand and the projectile looks like it's supposed to be a 45-yard throw, but no, it's only 15 yards. There's no zip on it.
He was very uncomfortable with the wet ball.
Well, and it gets there late, so by the time the wide receiver's gone up and grabbed it, it's already contested. He almost doesn't come down with it, right?
Yep.
This next one is Trey McBride catch, which is really good.
Sweet. We'll talk a little bit. Well, we can show this now.
Yeah,
by the way, huge shout out to Mace for getting all this footage, standing out there in the rain,
stuff,
just getting drenched to be able for us to have footage like this on the show, which is, I think, incredible to have.
This was near the beginning of practice, and this may have been the catch of the day from Trey McBride here. Kenny Pickett, very ill-advised throw, and look at that.
So Trey
just beautiful.
It's not ill-advised if Trey McBride is out there.
Yeah.
It's one of the gutsiest throws we saw all day, probably, right? Yeah. Certainly from Pickett the last 2 days.
Where was the defender? The defender was behind him and outside, and where did he put the ball? Behind him and outside.
It wasn't a great throw.
Well, that's the thing. I think his placement leaves you wanting a little more,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if you're going to be the accurate underneath guy, placement is everything to lead your guys and allow them to create those extra yards if you're not going to do it for them.
Let me ask you this, Trey. I'll just ask you this instead of me saying what I think. Was he the guy with the highest stock coming in here?
Yeah, no doubt.
So has he hurt his stock since he got here? He has to have, right?
He has to have. And again, I wouldn't say it's so much anything he's done to hurt himself, but when seen parallel with the others, he just feels less special.
Mm-hmm. And special is a word that I'm going to use a lot as we move down this list. Okay, let's...
People are asking, where is Mace?
Mace had other media stuff that he had to do at the same time that we were recording this. He has his radio show that overlaps with the time that we're doing this. Obviously, when we're in Denver, it's a lot easier for us to coordinate schedules than when we're working ourselves around 2 Senior Bowl practices is the word I was looking for. All right, let's move our way down into number 3.
Yeah, number 3, Carson Strong, and I believe he's number 3 for everyone here.
Did you have a number 3? I think you moved him up to number 2.
I did.
So now we have a little bit more to argue about because you and Mace had the same top 3 and me and Zach had the same top 3. So you'll have to argue on behalf of yourself, and we assume for a lot of the same reasons that Mace would be arguing. So you, at number 3, have Sam Howell.
Yes.
Who was number 1 consensus for the 3 of us yesterday, not Mace.
That's right.
So why did he drop from 1 to 3 today?
Thought he played incredibly steady, Howell did today. Like everything I'm seeing from athletic standpoint, just a confidence and swagger. Ball comes out well. Purely arm talent, and what we saw today, and even to some extent yesterday, that arm from Strong ticks up enough to give him an advantage. Strong really impressive, and he doesn't care. He is here to show off that arm. He has full confidence in that arm.
At least today that was clear.
I know you feel as good as his arm can look that it doesn't tick up into special air. We're going to go back to that word a few times here. Which, hey, I don't necessarily disagree, but what I saw in being able to just push the ball vertically, complete confidence, no issue, really impressive in the elements today. Every other part of his game is concerning, but I am going to give him credit for the strengths he has showcased consistently and with confidence the last 2 days.
I mean, we saw these other guys throw 35 to 40-yard passes today and have success. He was throwing 50-yard passes today in the wind. I loved his confidence, loved his strong arm, and he was just ripping it. There was nothing special to him. It was just go down the sideline, and I'm going to throw it 50 yards down the field. And he was putting the ball where it needed to be. So I really liked him. And one of the things about Carson Strong is yesterday he was in that tier 2 to me, and there was a big gap between tier 2 and tier 1. Today, he's still in that tier 2, but much closer to tier 1.
Well, that's because I think tier 1 is a one-man tier.
He's in love. He's in love.
Yes.
But I want to say of Carson Strong, you know where I think his arm talent is special is in throwing the deep ball. And there's a difference between having a strong arm and throwing a great deep ball.
That's very right.
There are guys in the NFL who don't have the strongest arms but throw incredibly accurate deep ball. I think Tom Brady is an example of some guy who his arm talent doesn't. You don't look at him and say that guy has an electric arm.
Correct.
But he puts the ball in the right spot and he has that deep ball arm talent.
Let's talk about on the flip side really quick. Drew Lock has a very live, zappy, electric arm, and I think
deep ball accuracy and consistent.
Extremely, because I think he had the worst deep ball accuracy the only year he was a full-time starter.
Exactly. So that's
Mac Jones, another great recent example. Great deep ball accuracy. I would never say
great
super
arm.
Strong arm, right?
So that is something where Carson Strong that is something where Carson Strong is showing himself to be special. I think that he has the most special deep ball of anyone here. And Sam Howell, I would say, is right behind him in terms of throwing beautiful passes deep. So for me, Strong number 3, great job to jump up into that tier today. And it was clear that he was unbothered by the conditions, which he was the only one who could have said that in the first practice. Didn't care. And he was getting hype out there. The only guy I've seen really like fist pump and jump up and down and just like bring the energy, bring the vibes. I love seeing that from Carson Strong.
And on top of that, Ryan, we're seeing him show off the athleticism a little bit. Now, there's not much athleticism to work with, but he is really trying to show that look, I was a 100% statue last year because I came back 6 months after my injury instead of giving it the full year. In fact, he talked about that yesterday. He's really trying to show that if he has to escape, he can still do that. And he's not a runner by any means, but he's showing that he's better than Peyton Manning at the end of his career.
Yeah, yes, he's definitely a step above that. All right. So, you know what? Here's what we're going to do.
There he is.
I'm going to tell you guys about the DNVR bar real quick. Come down to the DNVR bar. It's one of the... I just miss being there right now. There's some
Mecca.
Big games on tonight. Nuggets tipping off here, I believe, in just a few minutes against the Jazz. I wish I was at the DNVR bar hanging out right now. But I guess I'll settle for being here with you guys in Mobile. Hop on down there tonight. Get yourself some Breck Brews. Get yourself our delicious chicken sandwich or any of the other great things. Oh, have to shout out Kale. Kale turned me on to the barbecue pork grilled cheese the other day.
Whoa.
And it absolutely slaps. So again, every time I try something new, I'm like, oh, okay, all right, this is solid. And it's even more than that. So go down there, get yourself a chicken sandwich or the barbecue pulled pork grilled cheese. So many options down there. Check out the DNVR bar.
And you got to check out our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook, where they're giving you 56-1 odds. If you bet $5 on either team to win the Super Bowl, you will win $280 in free bets if that team wins, and there's no better way to start your account than with that. And we're going to have so many props to cover over the next 10 days leading up to the Super Bowl. You guys are going to have it covered on bets next week. We're going to have it covered on Broncos, so there's no better place to turn than our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook. We're not not only that, they're giving you odds boosts every single day, and it is so much fun. So head to the App Store now, download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now, and use promo code DNVR when you sign up to get this can't-miss offer. That's $5 to win $280 by betting on either team to win the Super Bowl. That's code DNVR at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, Colorado only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
It didn't happen today, but yesterday the sun peeked through.
Yeah.
And you know that feeling when the sun just hits your skin and all of a sudden you're just like, man, I could go for a strawberry sky. That happened to me yesterday. So I mentioned Breck Brews down at the DNVR bar, but you can get them just about anywhere. You can use the Breck Brew locator on their website to find the nearest Breck Brews near you and get yourself a strawberry sky, which I believe to be the most refreshing beer out there. But of course, there's plenty other great beers from our friends over at Breckenridge Brewery, including the Breck Lager, Vanilla Porter, Avalanche Amber, which is famous worldwide. So check out our friends over at Breckenridge Brewery and get you some of those delicious Breck brews. All right, guys. Well, that leaves two guys, because I can't say the top two. It's the top two for Zach and I. You jumped up strong. So let's start.
We outnumber you here, though, Dre. So
I got it.
it.
Mace is with me, and that's all that
Yes.
matters.
So let's start with Sam Howell, who today I thought just doubled down on what he did yesterday. It wasn't quite as flashy. He didn't show the legs nearly as much as he did yesterday, but made some really nice throws, especially in the one-on-one period where we're seeing that he can really feather in a deep ball. And that's really the only time where we're seeing these guys really get to attempt deep throws. That was a great catch. So, you know, we're not seeing them air it out quite as much in the 11-on-11 stuff, but it's clear he has a really nice touch on that pass when he looks down the field. And again,
that was terrible.
Probably his worst throw of the day. But
there were some inconsistencies from him.
I just think, to me, he's been, I think if he scored every single throw, I think you would probably score out the best.
Yes, I agree.
In terms of just being steady, being consistent.
I agree.
I don't know how you would score every single throw and how you would scale that in terms of distance and all that, but it's like 7, 7, 7, 7, just solid, consistent. There was a couple ducks, and everyone has those. But out of everyone, I think he has the least plays so far.
And on top of that, he had 2 10s today, where in one-on-ones he hit 2 40 to 45-yard deep balls for touchdowns. One of them was a really good ball. The other one was a perfect ball. The receiver was outstretched in the end zone running full speed, and it just hit him right where you want to hit him. And that's the hope for Sam Howell, is that he can do that, command an offense, be able to run, but then he's money on those long balls. And today he was. And I was really Kenny Pickett and Sam Howell were trending in different directions this year. Sam Howell came into this past year being the number one overall pick for this draft. Kenny Pickett came in as a no one. I mean, we're talking like a 13 touchdown, 9 interception guy his first 4 years in college. That's kind of the quarterback he was. Then he explodes, and Sam Howell has a tough year. So they're trending in opposite directions. And now you've seen the Senior Bowl, it start to go the other way. Now we see Kenny Pickett come back to earth, and we see Sam Howell really emerging as a potential, top quarterback in this draft.
Yeah, I like Sam Howell. If you had to ask me right now, like, what quarterbacks would you be okay with the Broncos drafting? He would make my list. It's tough for me to decide if I would put Carson Strong on the list, but it would. Obviously, we're working our way towards talking about Malik Willis. He and Sam Howell would be on the list of guys where I'm like, okay, if you love this guy and you're willing to go get him and you're going to build around him, I'm okay with that. And to me, when you use that word special, I think he has a little bit of special sprinkled on him. But I don't know if I can wait any longer. Is there anything else? You talked a little bit about Sam earlier.
No.
Okay, I can't wait any longer to talk about Malik Willis because that word special just came out of my mouth. And I think he has a lot of special. Now, that does not mean he is a finished product. And that's clear that he just needs to be refined. But I expected worse, I guess, in terms of how raw he is.
Yeah. He's
got a lot going for him. And he has special to me. He has a special arm, and he has special feet. And the mix of that is enough for me to like start to fall for him as an option for the Denver Broncos. I just look at like when you go back and you look at these plays that we have B-roll of him, like of him scrambling up and down the field. He goes on one play, it's a 40-yard run. On the next play, it's a 40-yard pass. It's just like this is the type of stuff that can get you going, get you out of your seat when it comes to the Denver Broncos trying to find their next quarterback. He has special to me.
That clip is perfect, and we referenced the clip yesterday where he made the play of the day. He's made some of his best plays on these bad snaps, and that's what makes these really great quarterbacks in the AFC special. When a play doesn't go their way, like a busted snap, they have the tools, traits, and talent to overcome those mistakes and still get a positive out of you. Boys, we were here together 3 years ago. Gun to your head. Raw at this point in their career, Malik Willis or Josh Allen? Mere rawness as a quarterback.
It's so hard to talk about this because people don't realize how raw Josh Allen really was.
They should look up his Wyoming stats to try and understand.
Without a doubt, Josh Allen was more raw.
I agree.
As a quarterback. Now, Josh Allen had...
That doesn't mean anything, right? We are merely asking who was raw at this point. Doesn't mean anything.
When I see Malik Willis out here, I'm really impressed with his composure as a quarterback. Not as a run-first guy, but as a pass-first guy. And he's made a huge emphasis on that, and he's done a really good job impressing me. Josh Allen, on the other hand, Josh Allen was a guy that couldn't hit the net in passing drills. Yeah. He was a guy that had a super strong arm, but his accuracy was not there. So without a doubt, it's Malik Willis. But my thing with Malik is, Ryan, I'm not there. I'm not at the special stage with him. Now, he's still my number one. I still like him the most out of any of these guys here, but I don't see special on the legs yet. I don't see special in the arm talent yet. And it doesn't mean that I can't get there, but...
when I say that I see special, I just mean that the traits. I see special traits. He has special arm strength. He has special running ability. In my opinion, that doesn't mean that he's ready to go out there and be special in the NFL right now. But when I talk about him, I'm saying he has what it takes to become one of those special talents that we see in the NFL right now. That I feel strongly about that.
Okay, what right now?
It is hard in the NFL because to be special for the NFL, being top 15th percentile. You're a freak of nature. There are a few humans that walk the earth who can do what you can do. But still, top 15%, is that high enough to be special? Or is it more like...
Okay, with the legs...
Very above average. I think the legs... I am starting to lean towards special with the legs. And now, that was a hard eval at Liberty, right? I was a bit on the fence. Mm-hmm. But the way he escapes from guys when he turns the corner at the Senior Bowl... Plus, what I've seen on tape, his ability to bounce off dudes and what have you. You might have me there. I'll give that to you. I'll give you a special.
So when I think about him, I'm just thinking, that's the best throw of the day.
Play of the day, fading to his left. Actually sailed a couple on that same boot to his non-arm side. Yep. And then he threw that dime, dropped it in the bucket. And we saw a lot of arm power. Beautiful touch and pinpoint accuracy and ball placement on that one.
Well, and one of the reasons why I really like him is I just keep mentioning it, his ability as a passer before a runner. And what did he do there? He not only escaped really quick out of that, he could have continued to run and turn that into a 6-yard gain, slid, got a positive game or positive play. But instead, he quickly sets his feet and then throws that really good ball. And especially rolling the opposite direction, the degree of difficulty. And again, composure as a passer really impressed me.
Yeah, and
you've made that a point of emphasis, and I've loved that. Sorry.
And I'll even admit that I'm too caught up in this.
Sure.
But I'm so caught up in it's 4th down, and there's this drive at the end of the game, and you have to go score, and it's like this quarterback has to buy you a bunch of time and then just unleash a bullet into a tight window, and I'm just, when I watch him out there, I'm like, he can do that. Now, here is something that can scare you or it can excite you, depending on where you want to be with Malik Willis. They were doing the drill where they've got the bags there.
I wanted to get to this.
And they've got to chop their feet and get over the bags. Yeah. They've got to keep their eyes on the target. and then they're throwing into the net. Well, no one missed the net, a la Josh Allen.
Yep.
Not everyone hit the little targets every single time.
By the way, this was a much smaller net, too, than the one Josh Allen was throwing
very
into.
true. Yeah. Anyways.
Zappy looked good in those drills, by the way.
It's a footwork drill, right? It's about keeping your eyes downfield, being able to use your feet. And of the 3 quarterbacks we're watching, Zappy, Willis, Howell, Willis was miles behind the other guys.
He's going super slow speed. It's
right.
Like slow-mo.
And it's so funny because out of everyone, he has the quickest feet, right? But it's clear that his footwork has not been refined. He's a guy who his whole life, he's been like, snap me the damn ball and let me just go make plays for you. And again, if you feel like you have a quarterback's coach in a system that can develop this, then that excites you, right? You're saying, if this is what this guy can do without ever really having had to work on his feet, then what's going to happen when he becomes a quarterback in terms of his footwork? And it can scare you in the sense of, look, this guy's just been relying on his athleticism his entire life, and when you get to the NFL, it just doesn't work that way anymore. You aren't that much more athletic than anyone on the field at any time. That's right. So that that's a fear for me, because you just don't know. You don't know if a guy's going to be able to knock those habits away.
Yes.
It's like, Zach, when we play Madden, some people just snap the ball with their quarterback and they start running out of the pocket right away, right? Malik Willis is not that guy. He's actually showed this week that he really wants to not be like that. But when your whole life have counted more on your athleticism than your fundamentals, can you break that habit and become fundamental? Because you really can't do it in the NFL without those fundamentals.
Here's why I think Malik, and I just can't get this out of my head, he reminds me so much of Jalen Hurts, just in terms of body type. Kyler Murray is not, he's a tiny guy. When you look at Malik Willis, he's like a tree trunk in terms of just, and he's not very tall. He's 6'1", just like Jalen Hurts. He measures in at 225. Jalen Hurts 223 this past year, so very similar body type, and also their game is similar. Jalen Hurts is not just a running quarterback. Now, he ran for 750 yards last year, 16 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. That's not blowing you away, but you combine those together, and you have people on one side, a.k.a. Ryan, saying that Jalen Hurts is going to be in the MVP conversation next year, and you have people on the other side, a.k.a. every Eagles fan, that says they should absolutely cut him, get rid of him, trade him. Maybe not cut him, but trade him. They don't want him as their quarterback, and that's why I see some teams this year falling in love with him and saying, wait, Jalen Hurts was in the second round. We can get this guy who's, in the MVP conversation in the first round, and at pick 15, at pick 10, maybe at pick 9. We're going to take that flyer on him. But other teams saying, no. We don't want that guy. 16 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. I see Malik Willis becoming a very polarizing player in this draft.
Andre, let me ask you this. What's the number one thing holding back Jalen Hurts?
I think it's throwing with anticipation.
Okay. For me, it would just be...
And from within the pocket, really,
For me, it would just be pure arm talent. I don't think he has an explosive arm. And so he's able to make a lot of plays because he's such a great athlete, and he has a good enough arm.
Yeah.
But I think it would be fair to say Malik Willis has a much more explosive arm than Jalen Hurts.
It's interesting. I always thought Hurts didn't get enough credit for how explosive his arm could be, especially on the move. But you're right. We really haven't seen it from within the context of the pocket. And Malik is already flashing that for us. You guys have said it all. I just want to kind of set the scene for our listeners who weren't able to be in the rain at South Alabama with us.
It's setting up so nice.
It starts with the footwork drills you just analyzed so nicely, where Zappy, Howell, they're like AP English level of footwork. Malik is like eighth grade reading level of footwork, but we can get there. That's why we pay coaches millions of dollars. And Clint Kubiak knows what he's doing, quarterback coach. But it starts like that. You talked about him being polarizing and people falling in love. Feels like the Lions coaching staff was already falling in love because after that touchdown we showed you, only touchdown we saw a quarterback take his team, touchdown drive, a quarterback lead his team on in 11 and 11s. all of a sudden, the last several snaps of
Malik
11
show.
and 11, we weren't switching out quarterbacks. It was just Malik. I mean, this coaching staff seems to have really taken a liking to him, giving him more opportunities, and just everything about this setting, everything about the weather today. He is far from consistent. I want to make that clear. I saw a comment about, if he won the first 2 days, and his biggest knock is inconsistency, then eliminate that. No, he's been incredibly inconsistent, even on a play-by-play basis, even here. But the traits get you excited, and just there's an excitement to him, and it's not just in the stands with us. You're starting to see it from the coaches, just wanting to see more out of this guy.
And it should be noted that the one time today that he really didn't look good was that second to last 11-on-11 period, which he manned, where the defense was just like, well, we're just going to send 6 on every play, and the offensive line had absolutely no idea what to do, and Malik was taking about one step and getting touchdown on every single one of those plays. And then I think maybe it was Dan Campbell, maybe it was someone else said, okay, let's do it again. Stop sending those crazy blitzes at these guys that can't handle it. Yeah. And he made a few more plays getting down the field. I thought it was clear he was the best player today, and especially from the quarterback position. And I thought that was essentially a reward for him from the coaches to say, all right, you're going to get a whole period to yourself here at the end of practice as a reward for being the best quarterback. Here's my most overarching take. I don't disagree with Zach's take that you don't have to be our friend Nick Kendall uses the term a demigod at quarterback. You don't have to have these insane traits. You don't have to have a rocket arm and incredible legs to succeed in the NFL. But it's very clear that there is not one of those guys who doesn't have those things that is going to that is, a Mac Jones level of passer and diagnoser. That doesn't exist in this year's draft. Yeah. So my take is going to be that if you're going to take a quarterback at 9, or really at any time in the first round, depending on what moves you might make, if you're doing that this year, Malik Willis is the guy to do it, and maybe Matt Corral has some of those same qualities that we're talking about. We don't get to see him this week, so he's not really part of the conversation right now. Yeah. But Malik Willis is your guy. You do have to go after demigod quarterback traits if you're trying to hit this year, and you got to be right. It's like this is the debate of last year. Is like, do you go Trey Lance because he's so big and so strong and such a big arm? Or do you go Mac Jones? That doesn't exist this year. It's like, are you going to try and go safe with a Kenny Pickett maybe who doesn't even feel safe anymore? Or are you going to take a big swing? And in my opinion, in this class, if you're going after a quarterback, you take the big swing and say, we can develop Malik Willis.
And one of the things you said about Trey Lance, which I agree, is special traits that he has. I was convinced Trey Lance had special traits. I think you were too. Both of you were as well. That's something I'm not there yet with Malik Willis. And in order to go off special traits, especially coming from a small school, you got to be convinced of that. You got to really like him. And that's something that I'm not sold on yet. Ryan, it seems like you're getting there and you're ready to potentially use that first round pick on him. But it is clear to me that he is separating himself from all these other guys. So if you don't get Aaron Rodgers, they don't trade for a tier 2 quarterback as well. He seems to be that guy right now.
It's really funny because legitimately, as I was going to sleep last night, I was thinking about just our conversation on the podcast, the practice, and ranking Sam Howell number 1 yesterday, and I think he did earn that, but I just couldn't stop thinking, like, if you're taking one of these guys, you just have to go for the higher level traits, and he has the better legs. And then I was like, really hoping that wasn't going to shape my entire view of practice today. And I was really relieved, like, when everyone else is saying, like, yeah, Malik looks great. Because I'm like, I can't tell if I'm, like, going crazy over here and I just want to see the good. No, he legitimately took a step forward today. And I think it's fair to call him the talk of the town right now. Malik Willis is the talk of Mobile right now.
He is. He absolutely is. And this is big for him, especially because he went to Liberty. He needs to prove that he wasn't just doing what he did last year against very lesser competition. Now he's doing it against the really good competition.
Probably the most exciting possible outcome of the first 2 days of practice is Malik Willis looking like the best quarterback.
Yeah. Yep. Can we put this all in context? Because I see, like, Ethan talking about, well, if the Lions like him, there's no chance the Broncos will even get a sniff at him at 9.
He's a long ways away from number 1 right now.
Like, miles away. Miles away.
I mean,
I don't know, guys. What did he do? What we just talked about? What did the Lions do at the end of practice?
Yeah, it is the Lions coaching staff who said it's your show now.
Exactly, and they get to control how practice goes, and they did barely any teamwork today in terms of 11 on 11, and when they did, they were making sure that they were putting Malik Willis in there. I don't think we're miles away from him.
First overall seems bananas, though.
This is like what I said the past 2 days on the show, guys. We got to stop thinking that just the Broncos are going to get the first quarterback at 9. No, the NFL goes nuts over quarterbacks, and who are they going nuts over this week? It's Malik Willis.
Yeah.
So I'm not there to say that he's a lock for the number 2 pick to the Lions right now, but it's not crazy that he is skyrocketing from late first round pick entering this week to a top 10 pick.
Yeah, good call. It's second, not first. It doesn't matter, especially since number 1 will not be a quarterback as far as I'm concerned.
I'm not even convinced about that. Not that the Jags are going to take a quarterback, but that the Jags won't trade.
Man, I could see a trade, of course.
I don't know if there's a quarterback that someone's going to trade 3 first-round picks to get to number 1.
What if it's a Jag saying we want to, or what if it's a Lion saying we want to get Malik Willis?
So we're
going to trade you a third-round pick to move one spot.
The old Trubisky trade.
Yep.
That makes a little more sense to me. I will say it feels like a stretch right now, but we're early. I mean, let's say Malik Willis goes to the combine and runs a 4.4.
Wait. You just said you see special in his legs, special in his arm, and then when I say top 10 pick, you say, whoa.
I didn't say top 10. I said number 2 overall pick. I'm not there yet.
But if he has special legs and a special arm, why is it crazy to say that he could be a top 2 pick?
It's not, and that's what I'm just saying. I'm just saying it's early in the process.
Yeah.
And I think as the process goes, the quarterbacks get more exciting and more tantalizing, and I think it's very, very possible that by the end of this whole process, Malik Willis is at least getting buzz to go that early in the draft.
Absolutely.
Plus 10,000 on DraftKings, so
to go
get
number 2,
1 overall, but trade up the old swapper.
That's why. Because the Jags,
all the quarterbacks, actually, Kenny Pickett's still plus 3,000, but I wouldn't consider that.
Don't put your money there.
I certainly would. So yeah, I mean, when we were here a few years ago, I said by the end of this, Baker's going to be number 1 overall. I don't feel that passionate about Malik at this point, but I do see an extremely electric arm, and I do see extremely electric legs, and I totally could see how the Detroit Lions could fall in love with that and just say, screw it, we'll develop him. We don't have to start him. We have Jared Goff, so we'll give him a year and go from there. I don't think it's crazy at all.
Was Malik Willis actually the one breaking down the huddle, Ryan?
He was in the dead center of it.
Okay, and what was one of the reasons why the Broncos and people fell in love with Baker Mayfield at the Senior Bowl? Yes, he looked good on the field, but man, the swag, the leadership he had, the way he connected with Vance Joseph and the Broncos staff. If he's the one, if the Lions coaching staff is saying, Malik, break this down. Malik, stay on the field for multiple end-of-game scenarios at the end of practice. Clearly, they see those special traits as well. They see those leadership traits. They're falling in love with them. So it's not crazy to connect these dots.
Well, and I also think go ahead.
Well, as you guys brought in my view to what some outside perspective to this draft class, this quarterback class can be, as opposed to me, who's I'm in it year round. So I have some preconceived notions to get over on a lot of these guys. We've talked so much about the 2013 really crappy quarterback class, E.J. Manuel, Geno Smith, Matt Barkley. That's what this class gets compared to a lot. Starting to feel a little more like the Carson Wentz, Jared Goff, Paxton Lynch, with Dak slipping to the 3rd draft. The Senior Bowl, how that class felt, feels more how this class felt than just the atrocity that was 13.
So what you're saying is wait till day 2 and day 3 and get Dak Prescott, a.k.a. Bailey Zappi.
Or Carson Strong.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe
Carson
Matt Corral's
Strong,
that guy.
I think, is the one today who put on like the leadership show. In terms of like going on, dapping up his teammates and pumping his fists and getting everyone excited.
The
That,
laser show, bro.
to me. And then I also think I did see, I just think the guys who were like on Malik's little unit that they kind of go around with, it did seem like they were gravitating towards him, going up and dapping him up after plays and stuff like that. So there's no Baker Mayfield here in terms of that quality.
No.
But it is something that I do keep an eye on during these things, is that you just would never be able to really see from like watching the tape, is how are they treating their teammates? Are they going and like trying to get guys hyped up? I mean, it's a Senior Bowl. It's different than when you're at like Clemson and you're going out there to play the ACC championship game. Like, I think it's the job of these quarterbacks to try and get their team riled up to compete a little bit.
Well, and you haven't been around these guys at all, let alone a year. You've been around for 2 days, and now you're supposed to lead them. But it kind of puts you in a similar situation as you're going to be as a rookie, as a first-round guy thrown in with guys who are 10 years old. And it's a very awkward situation.
Yeah.
How do you handle yourself? Do you shrivel up, or do you take the right steps to first earn your teammates' respect and then start leading? It's a very small sample size this week, but it's something that you can see. Clearly, Baker Mayfield really killed that the week he was here.
He's got a swagger and coolness to him too. Wasn't he kind of like dragging his feet when like in between plays at some point, but then when the play was on, he's like running past everyone, right?
I was convinced that like he doesn't like the way his cleats fit or something. Like,
He's also got great vision and patience as a runner. That's something we kind of noticed. That's where he's Hurts-esque.
Yeah.
Like, he's a legit runner with vision and patience. You guys are kind of getting me too excited about him. I might have to take a cold shower.
Oh, my gosh.
I love this. I love that. All right, we're going to talk about some of the other guys that stood out today. But first, I want to talk about our friends over at Ball. They're hiring production technicians over at Ball, as in Ball Aerospace, as in Ball Arena, as in Ball, the can plant that in 2021 produced over 100 billion cans, which is just absolutely absurd. Zach's Aunt Julie works at Ball. She has great things to say about it. And you could be a production technician over at Ball, which is a great, great gig with opportunities for advancement. So check out our friends over at Ball. Go to jobs.ball.com and search for Golden, or text Golden to 77222, and you'll be linked directly to the open positions over at Ball.
And you got to check out our friends over at Lightshade Dispensary, whether you go into one of their 11 Denver Metro locations or whether you're going online. Use the code DNVR to get 25% off each and every purchase. Again, that's online or that's in-store. And get Ripple, because it's a fast-acting dissolvable, clinically proven to hit 2 times faster than the leading gummy, and it starts absorbing within 10 minutes, so you can depend on a consistent experience every time. Whether you're the casual or the connoisseur consumer, make sure to check them out, because they have everything that you could imagine over there at Lightshade. And again, you can check them out online or in store, and when you do, use that code DNVR for 25% off.
Hell yeah. All right.
Booyah.
Let's move
Hell
on
yeah.
here.
Woo!
Let's go!
Well, okay, we can get to the Super Chats right now. Let's do the Super Chats right now. But I do want to let Dre talk about some of the other standouts today, because I don't want it to be only quarterbacks here. So let's get these Super Chats, and then we'll do that.
The Super Chats are all QB related anyways.
All right, we'll keep the QB conversation going. Stephen Sholey says, give me liberty or give me death, or just give me Malik Willis. Also, where is Mace? We talked about that a little earlier. There you go, Malik Willis. I actually was not expecting the Malik Willis thing to be I was hoping that Malik Willis came here and was the best quarterback, but I was not expecting it. This is an exciting development.
I was hoping for it, definitely, because he's the most dynamic guy that could be here, and I wish Matt Corral was here, because I think he could be giving him a run for his money as well. And the good news is that Corral will be fine come the draft. He will be fine, hopefully, come the combine, but he'll definitely be fine come the season.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, what's next? From Willie. Saw an interesting tweet. If Peyton didn't like Fields last year at 9, why would he like Willis at 9? Maybe we trade back. What do you think?
Would not be surprised at a trade back, especially if they already have their quarterback of the future. You trade back, you get draft stock, especially if, let's say, the quarterback of the future is Jimmy Garoppolo or Kirk Cousins, more like a quarterback for this year, and then we'll see about next year. Then you trade back, get more assets to potentially move up next year.
Yeah, Willis and Fields is an interesting comparison because Fields was certainly more refined.
No doubt.
Bigger, stronger. What about arm strength?
From within the pocket, I trust Fields' arm strength more. Fields' big knock, processing speed, right? Which can always be a big concern. All these cases, though, in a vacuum, it's a singular player evaluation. These aren't generic player types.
Right.
And you can go through his tenure with the Vikings. Yeah, they invested big money in someone like Kirk Cousins. They also used a really high pick on a raw, mobile quarterback like Christian Ponder. And, of course, Nathaniel Hackett's going to factor in a major way. Right, Teddy Bridgewater as well.
Who was obviously a lot more mobile before the big knee injury.
100%, right. So I think it kind of reminds me of Kenny Pickett, frankly.
Yeah. I don't want to put that evil on him because I just know that'll make Broncos fans be like, we're good, we're out. But
I'll be honest with you, my love for 2014 Teddy Bridgewater does give me a bit of buyer's remorse. It makes me a little more skeptical on Kenny Pickett because I know that's a guy who's refined and polished tape early in my career I really would have liked. And now I've had to learn the hard way and see these guys with those traits really blow up when maybe they didn't have the most refined games or tape in college. And that's where you need to kind of shift your perspective.
Yep. And the other thing when it comes to like a raw quarterback is if you run the West Coast right, you should be able to make things easier on them.
And this is something we have always said is like a lot of these RPO spread guys have a lot of the traits that would work great in that classic Shanny West Coast. Put them on the boot, get them on the move, do all that kind of stuff. And it would work.
Unfortunately, I think that ended up being a massive flaw in the Broncos' evaluation of Paxton Lynch is they kind of let some other concerns go by the wayside because they were just like, well, this guy's like tall and athletic and he can really throw it and we'll just make things easy for him. He obviously had processing speed issues. He had dedication issues, that sort of stuff. And I just think they were like, let's just take the traits and throw them in there.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's a lesson that maybe John can pass on to George Paton is like, hey, it's true that the traits can develop in this system. Just make sure he checks off all the other boxes, the leadership, all that good stuff.
So what I'm hearing though from this is looking at from the other side and hearing, okay, you don't have to have the most talented guy and the most special guy in this system to have success. Let's use a second-round pick on someone. Let's use that first pick on a right tackle or something like that. But if I'm sitting in the room and George Paton hears this way, then it could go the other way.
Yeah, I don't think it's not necessary. It's just that the rawness, you can make things easier for a guy who may be more raw by getting him out on the boot and giving him a half-field read, and it's a high-low. It's either you dump it down or you hit the guy coming on the crosser. Like, that doesn't require elite Mac Jones, spread him out five wide, identify the defense, and pick your matchup.
Right.
It's the opposite of that, right? It's get the linebackers sucked in, open up the middle of the field, try to hit something coming across. If not, you have a check down.
Yeah, and you're playing 1-2 read football. I mean, it's what we've seen the Chargers do with Herbert early in his career. Not so much this season, but early in Josh Allen's career, we saw that a lot, there are ways to adjust for sure.
Another super chat from Brian Parr, a big Malik Willis fan. I've been telling you guys about Malik. Give me zone read with Willis and Javonte all day. Also, Zach, your CPU won its game today in the Madden League.
Let's go.
That's fun.
I woke up early and got my game in with the homie Dan across the pond.
And you also won your game.
And I also won my game to take first place in the NFC North.
Huge.
We all get there different ways, but we all win games.
Hey, I like it. You trust your guys.
I trust my guys.
Great management skill. Just put your players in a position to succeed and let them go.
Real,
yep.
CEO head coach.
Yes.
You're that kind of just from a bird's eye view. You're watching above
I'm
your guys.
Pat Boland. You're Jerry Jones.
Oh, okay.
Someone a little more successful.
Whoa.
Who has more championships?
Oh, I can't remember right now.
All right. I think that is the last super chat we have for right now. So I know we have questions. I also tell you guys that if we don't get to those questions today, we are going to be doing a podcast early in the morning tomorrow before we have to check out. Unfortunately, we got the news today that tomorrow's Senior Bowl practice will be indoors, and because there's not space, we're not invited. Only like NFL Network and ESPN and those guys got the invite. So we're not going to be able to watch practice tomorrow, so we're going to be doing an early podcast, kind of tying a bow on everything, talking a little bit more about the Broncos news that exists out there in the world, because there's a ton of it right now, a lot of coaching staff stuff. So if you're saying, oh, why aren't they talking about that? We're going to talk all about that stuff tomorrow morning and hopefully hit a lot more of your questions. So I do want to make sure we get a little more Senior Bowl talk in here and talk about some of the other guys. I want to start with Trey McBride. We saw the big catch that he had there today. Maybe the catch of the day.
Yep. 2 days in a row.
2 days in a row. And
best pass catcher on the field. Wide receivers included in Mobile?
I think so.
I have no reason to say no.
I mean, one thing we saw today was passages going right through tons of receivers' hands, and not a huge fault to all of them, but not with Trey McBride, though.
Yeah, this dude is a really interesting case at tight end because he is way smaller than I expected. And as someone who's met him in person,
height-wise,
he's huge, yes. But when you stand him up next to like some of these other tight ends who are here in Mobile, he almost looks like a slot receiver.
Yes,
right. And I think that in certain ways he could be used in that role in the NFL. But what Trey McBride lacks in straight height, he makes up for in a lot of different areas. And I think the biggest area is his arm length. What did you say his arms were? 35 inches?
Oh, gosh, yeah, they're over 35 inches. So if you think when we're drafting an offensive tackle high, we need at least over 33 and a half. He's over not just 34, but 35. This is a massive human being.
And because of that,
arm length.
Right, you get an insane catch radius, and he really uses that as a skill. He's using his body to keep the defender away while he uses those arms to get out there and make catches. And I think it's one of those things where, like, we're talking about elite traits.
Yeah.
It's a sneaky elite trait that he has these super long arms and he knows how to use them.
His route running's also flashing elite.
And
his contested ball skills are starting to flash elite. So checking off some real boxes.
And because he has those long arms, he's very good in the run game. I think he made big strides there. So Trey McBride, man.
So then really quick, Ryan, how concerned are you with his short stature, being 6'3"? Because if he can run the routes, he can catch the balls, he can especially contest it, and then he can also run block. Does it matter?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. Yeah. But it was jarring to me when I saw him standing next to all the other tight ends. Just the first thing we saw before they went out there and played, it was like, because especially when you come from a small conference, people are going to look for reasons to say, how is he able to do that? Oh, well, he's a little too small for the NFL, but he's able to do it in that smaller conference.
Right.
And then he comes out here in the Senior Bowl and just balls out, and that's why the Senior Bowl is so valuable for guys like this. Because if you were just comparing his size to some of these other guys and looking for reasons to knock him, you could. You put him out there against NFL talent, and he shines like he has been, you can put those concerns to bed.
How about this? We're talking about Colorado State and Liberty as two of the big schools here.
Great point. Yeah.
All right, 100%. Dre, you want to talk about some of your other standouts?
Yeah, Kingsley Enagbare, a real standout for South Carolina. Edge rusher, basically unblockable all day. Got a one-on-one against a sacrificial lamb that was the San Diego State tight end. Dominated, just buried him in the dirt. Was really
unfair.
Making it impossible to run the little 3-on-2 run drills they like to do because he was breaking those up one-on-ones. Devastating, great combination of bend and power. Very consistent producer for the Gamecocks. He's really flashed. Guy often lined up opposite of him on that same team, Jermaine Johnson, Florida State. We highlighted how he ended the practice at a really high level for the Lions team yesterday. He again flashed. And Neil Farrell, shout out to our guy Saul Bookman, who's been talking about him a lot on the PHNX Cardinals. The LSU graduate defensive tackle has just been a tank. He is in the backfield constantly. We've seen a few really dominant defensive tackle performances. The other one is Otio Ogbonna out of UCLA. Impressive. Wow, he's been just like a beast. And then some small school offensive linemen have really flashed for me as well. Our guy, I called him Cole Turner on one of our videos because I am literally losing my mind out here. I meant Cole Strange. I'll never forget that name again. Cole Strange, Chattanooga, Tennessee guard, really impressing, really showing a strong anchor and some nice sideline to sideline mobility. One of the few guys who held his own against those dominant defensive linemen. I got to get a last name in because he flashed consistently. We talked about him a lot, and he actually slipped my mind in our video updates. Perrion Winfrey, number 95 for Oklahoma. All these other defensive tackles I talked about built like tanks. He's an interior defensive lineman, length and strength, doing some really impressive stuff. I'm going to have to tone it down with the hand gestures now because I'm starting to go like this, and I don't know where I'm going with this.
No, I love that.
Zach's got himself in trouble for hand gestures on the show before.
I love those.
Fist pumping or something.
That's right.
One thing that I love about that, Dre, is the Broncos could absolutely use an interior defensive lineman in this draft. They were hoping Mike Purcell was the answer, and since he signed his new deal, he has not been able to be counted on. And even at that position, you could always use another guy. So defensive, big nose tackle defensive guy, or you have the option to get another defensive end there. I'd love it. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I got to give a couple of mine. One, let me make sure I get his name right because I just had it in front of me. Calvin Austin. Now, he will stand out to you because he is the smallest dude on the field by far.
Yeah.
Wearing 83 out there with the Memphis Tigers tiger stripe helmet on. I'm so intrigued by this guy because he is legitimately tiny, but he knows how to use that to his advantage. He gets in and out of breaks really quickly. He has an impressive burst. He's at wide receiver. Now, I don't know if there's a need for the Broncos there. Obviously, they have KJ Hamler that they're kind of hoping to fill the small speedster role, and this guy is like significantly smaller than even him. But he stood out, and then you got to help me with the name of the Florida Atlantic running back.
Oh, God. Because there's both a Price and a Pierce. My brain
I believe it's
gets
Price.
Sent. Okay, there you go. I think you're right.
There's so many names out here.
Yeah.
Price, I don't know his first name off the top of my head right now.
I'll have it for you.
Running back out of Florida Atlantic. I believe it's
International.
Florida.
Yeah.
Gosh, dang it. Florida International.
Devontae Price, yes.
Devontae Price is another one that I like these guys who stand out for being unique, right? Mm-hmm. He doesn't look like a running back. He looks like a wide receiver. In years past, that might have been a negative thing. But what happened in the NFL this year?
Yeah.
You got running backs who look like wide receivers and wide receivers who look like running backs and guys who are able to fill multiple roles. And, of course, the two main ones, Cordero Patterson and Deebo Samuel.
Absolutely.
I love the idea of this guy who has these long legs, but is able to kind of use his stature to slip through holes because he's kind of he's not necessarily thin. Right. He's just built in an interesting way. But then he has this incredible burst out of the backfield, and he's tall, 6'3".
Yeah, he is, right. He's a longer guy, but he's bursty.
And I just love the idea of motion him out of the backfield. Yeah. All of a sudden you have this tall, fast, lanky guy out there on a linebacker. It's basically a wide receiver on a linebacker matchup. These types of matchups and mismatches that you can create with a guy who has such unique skill set excites me. So those two guys, for kind of being unique, are easy to catch your eye. But I'm very intrigued by both of them.
Yeah, and I'll throw one more name out there. Velus Jones, wide receiver from Tennessee. He's a guy that's just always open. And today he was the recipient of Sam Howell's deep balls. And whether it's short, whether it's long, he's getting open. Broncos don't really have a need for wide receiver, certainly, but they've taken late-round flyers on guys from the SEC. He's a name that's sticking out to be that guy if the Broncos are going to go that route this year.
One more I'll throw in, as we're talking about Colorado guys, Trey McBride, is Chad Muma, the Wyoming linebacker. And Dre, you've made an interesting point that he's kind of following the Logan Wilson path. And I loved what you guys were talking about on the draft pod previewing the Senior Bowl is like, you can kind of be lazy, right? You're comparing a guy to a guy who went to the same school and played the same position. It's like really easy. But then Justin had the counterpoint of like, but it can also help him, right? Yep. In the draft process, when teams are like, oh, well, he's just like Logan Wilson. And clearly they've got something good over there when they're coaching linebackers. And I think he does flash some of the same abilities. He really flies around on the field. So not going to be your run-plugging, run-stuffing linebacker. But when things start getting out on the edge or you need him to get in coverage, he flies. And he's really flashed to me.
Lone Tree, Colorado native. So
Saul just sent me his guy a video of him.
Yeah,
so let's watch Neil Farrell.
Yeah, just flattening.
That just looked way too easy.
That doesn't even look real. He just manhandles like a tank rolling through.
He
there.
actually did that to Zion Johnson, who I thought was a standout yesterday and had a rough day today in the rain, and it was just incredible to watch.
There, in these one-on-ones, you just don't see it that often. So when you get to see these one-on-ones, it's just crazy how many like absolute dominations there are.
Watching that play does remind me, I wanted to make the point, D-line really dominated the O-line for the most part the last 2 days. Malik Willis felt the most comfortable as constant pressure was coming.
I think it's that idea of just like, if I got to, I'll just run.
Yep.
It's like, I don't want to, I don't need to, but if I have to, I'll go.
Yeah.
All right. Any other standouts you guys wanted to mention? Any other super chats we need to hit?
No super chats.
All right. Then, like I said, if you left a comment, we will get to it in the morning. We're going to do an early morning podcast, so you guys will have that tomorrow when you're, going about your day. But I think that's going to wrap it up for tonight. Appreciate everyone who tuned in. This was a great, great conversation. Some exciting stuff happening out here in Mobile. And again, we'll be right back with you tomorrow, so stick with us.